Am I a human being? The constitutions of 168 countries say so, but not the United States Constitution. I know, hard to believe, but that is the supreme law of our land. If the government discriminates against you because of your race, national origin, or religion, your case gets strict scrutiny in court. However, if the government discriminates against you because of your gender, your case only gets intermediate scrutiny. That may sound like a small technicality, but it's not by a long shot. Discrimination lawsuits tried under strict scrutiny win 73% of the time in American courts. Those tried under intermediate scrutiny only win 37% of the time. That means that discrimination against women is actually baked into our Constitution. Women, like African Americans and Indigenous people, were intentionally left out of our Constitution. And it's way past time to right that wrong. Not just because it's immoral and unfair, but because the Equal Rights Amendment, which says equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex, and which requires discrimination cases to be tried under strict scrutiny, passed into law 2 years ago. Supermajorities of both houses of Congress voted for it. 3/4 of the states ratified it. And that's what the Constitution itself says is required to amend it. So why isn't the ERA our 28th Amendment? I'll skip the politically twisted BS and hit you with the truth. A few men got scared. In 6 of the states that ratified the ERA, their legislatures, their more than 90% male legislatures, voted to withdraw their ratification. Unfortunately for them, our Constitution doesn't have a cold feet provision. Next, the Archivist of the United States, whose job requires him to certify an amendment as soon as it meets the provisions of the Constitution, decided not to certify the ERA. His reason? The ERA didn't meet its deadline. There's no deadline listed as a requirement to amend our Constitution in Article 5. Now, more than 3/4 of Americans, the majority of Democrats and Republicans, support adding the ERA to the U.S. Constitution. And just imagine what life would be like if the Equal Rights Amendment was enshrined in our Constitution. We would no longer have to fight to have the Violence Against Women Act reauthorized every few years. The concept of pay equity would be settled. Pregnancy discrimination would be a thing of the past. Look, late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, and he was about as classically conservative as it gets, kind of made this clear when he said, "Certainly the Constitution doesn't require discrimination on the basis of sex. The only issue is whether it prohibits it. It doesn't." In case that somehow wasn't clear, Justice Scalia was saying that our Constitution does not prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex. So, are women human beings who deserve equal treatment under the law? If your answer is yes, and I hope it is, then we need our Constitution to reflect that. And this is not just about women. All Americans need and deserve ERA because inequality hurts everyone. This amendment is not only for women, but can potentially serve as a wider tent of constitutional protection for all gender identities. It is a promise that our government will not pass laws or take any official action that discriminates against its people on the basis of sex or sexual identification, and all human beings deserve that. Go to boldrethink.org for more information and action steps you can take to join the fight for an ERA.